Welcome back. Today, we are taking a trip about 900 million miles away from Earth to visit the undisputed jewel of our solar system, Saturn. When you look at Saturn through a telescope, the first thing that takes your breath away is its magnificent ring system. They look like solid, glowing, perfectly painted tracks circling the planet. But if we zoom in close, the reality is far more chaotic and, frankly, far more fascinating. Today, we are going to answer two deceptively simple questions about Saturn's rings. Two questions that stumped astronomers for centuries. Why are they so incredibly thin? And why are they so perfectly circular? Let's dive in. Before we talk about the shape of the rings, we have to talk about what they actually are. From Earth, they look like solid, flat disks, like a vinyl record spinning on a turntable. But that is an optical illusion. In reality, Saturn's rings are made up of billions, no, trillions, of individual pieces of water ice and rocky dust. Some of these pieces are as small as a grain of sand. Others are the size of a house, and a few are as massive as mountains. They are all orbiting Saturn at tens of thousands of miles per hour. Now, let's talk about their dimensions, because this is where things get mind-boggling. The main rings stretch out across a massive distance. If you drove a car across the main ring system, you'd be traveling about 175,000 miles, or 282,000 kilometers. That's almost the distance from the Earth to the Moon. But how thick are they? You might guess a few miles, or maybe a few thousand feet. No, on average, Saturn's rings are only about 30 feet thick. That is roughly the height of a two-story house. Let me give you an analogy to put that into perspective. If you were to shrink Saturn's rings down to the size of a standard piece of printer paper, that paper would be 10,000 times thicker than Saturn's rings are proportionally. They are sharper than a razor blade. So, how does a cloud of chaotic, flying ice mountains flatten itself into a structure thinner than a razor? To understand why the rings are flat, we have to rewind the clock. Billions of years ago, the material that makes up Saturn's rings wasn't a flat disk. It was likely a chaotic, spherical cloud of debris. Imagine a massive swarm of angry bees buzzing in a 3D globe around a hive. Particles were flying in every direction, up, down, left, right, diagonally. So, how did the swarm flatten out? It comes down to two forces: angular momentum and inelastic collisions. Let's break those down, starting with the easy one. First, the entire cloud of debris was spinning around Saturn. When things spin, they experience centrifugal effects. They want to push outward from the axis of rotation, while gravity is pulling them inward. Think of a chef tossing pizza dough. When a chef starts, the dough is a round ball. But as they toss it in the air and spin it, the dough flattens out into a disc. The spinning motion forces the material outward along the equator of the spin. The same thing happens in space. The overall spin of the solar system, and Saturn itself, encouraged this debris to settle around the planet's equator. But the spinning alone isn't enough to make it perfectly razor thin. For that, we need our second concept, inelastic collisions. This is where the magic happens. Imagine two ice boulders in that primordial spherical cloud. Boulder A is orbiting perfectly around the equator. Boulder B is in a highly tilted orbit, plunging down from the North Pole to the South Pole. Because they are orbiting the same planet, their paths are eventually going to cross. And when they cross, smash! In an inelastic collision, the kinetic energy, the energy of motion, isn't perfectly preserved. Think of two cars crashing head-on. They crunch, they break, and they generate heat. They don't bounce off each other perfectly like billiard balls. When these icy boulders crashed into each other, the energy from their up and down motion, their vertical movement, was lost to heat and the fracturing of the ice. However, because the entire cloud was spinning in one general direction, their forward momentum was conserved. Let me use a real-world analogy. Imagine you are at a roller rink. There are 100 people skating, but instead of skating in a circle, people are jumping up and down while they skate forward. Every time someone jumping up hits someone coming down, their vertical motion cancels out. They crash, stumble, and stop jumping, but they're still being pushed forward by the flow of the crowd. Give it enough time, and millions of collisions later, all the up and down energy is completely canceled out. The only motion left is the forward, circular motion around the planet. The chaotic sphere flattens into a razor-thin, two-dimensional disk. That is the ruthless efficiency of physics. So, we've solved the mystery of the flatness. But what about the shape? Why are the rings perfectly circular? Why aren't they oval-shaped or elliptical? To understand this, we apply the exact same logic we just used, but to the horizontal plane. Let's pretend a group of ice particles somehow ended up in an elliptical, oval-shaped orbit. An elliptical orbit means that sometimes the particles are closer to Saturn, and sometimes they are farther away. Now, imagine Saturn's rings as a gigantic, multi-lane NASCAR racetrack. If everyone stays in their lane and drives at exactly the right speed for that lane, there are no crashes. A perfectly circular orbit is like staying perfectly in your lane. But an elliptical orbit? That's like a rogue driver deciding to weave across 5 lanes of traffic. In the densely packed rings of Saturn, if an ice boulder is in an oval orbit, it is effectively changing lanes. It moves inward, cutting across the circular orbits of other particles, and then moves outward, cutting across them again. What happens to a driver who constantly swerves across busy lanes? They crash. When the rogue particle in the oval orbit crashes into particles in circular orbits, the collision alters its path. Just like the vertical crashes canceled out the up and down motion, these horizontal crashes bleed away the in and out motion. The collisions act like a cosmic sanding block, grinding away the irregularities. Over millions of years, the eccentric oval orbits are literally battered into submission until every single particle is forced into a smooth, perfectly parallel circular orbit. But there's one more factor that keeps these rings so sharply defined. It's not just the collisions, it's the galactic sheepdogs. We call them shepherd moons. Saturn has dozens of tiny moons that orbit right on the very edges of the rings, or even inside the gaps between them. 2 of the most famous are Prometheus and Pandora, which orbit on either side of Saturn's narrow F ring. These moons use their gravity like a sheepdog uses barks and nips to control a flock of sheep. If an ice particle drifts too far outward, the gravity of the outer shepherd moon pulls it back, or speeds it up and slings it back into place. If a particle drifts too far inward, the inner shepherd moon nudges it back. Their gravitational influence acts as an invisible electric fence, keeping the edges of the rings razor-sharp and perfectly round. Now, we move to the final, deepest part of our lecture. A curious student might ask, if there's so much ice and rock floating right next to each other, why doesn't gravity just pull it all together to form one big new moon? That is a brilliant question. After all, that's how the Earth and our moon formed. Dust and rock clumped together under their own gravity. Why doesn't this happen in Saturn's rings? The answer is a fascinating concept in astrophysics called the Roche Limit. Named after the French astronomer Edouard Roche, the Roche Limit is the minimum distance to which a large body, like a moon, can approach its primary planet without being torn apart by tidal forces. Let's explore tidal forces. Gravity is distance dependent. The closer you are to an object, the stronger its gravitational pull. Imagine you have a moon made of ice and rock orbiting very, very close to Saturn. Because the moon has a physical size, the side of the moon facing Saturn is closer to the planet than the side facing away. This means that Saturn's gravity is pulling much harder on the near side of the moon than on the far side. This creates a stretching effect. It's like 2 people playing tug-of-war with a piece of taffy. If you pull harder on one end than the other, the taffy stretches and eventually it snaps. If a moon crosses the Roche limit, getting too close to Saturn, the difference in gravitational pull between its near side and far side becomes stronger than the moon's own internal gravity holding it together. The moon is literally shredded to pieces. Saturn's main rings sit inside Saturn's Roche limit. This means the icy particles in the rings are completely trapped by the laws of physics. They desperately want to clump together to form a moon. Their own tiny gravities are pulling them toward one another. But every time a clump starts to form, Saturn's massive tidal forces rudely rip it back apart. They're trapped in a constant, eternal state of being shattered. The rings are essentially the graveyard of moons that got too close, or material that was never allowed to become a moon in the first place. To summarize what we've learned today, Saturn's rings are thin because inelastic collisions brutally canceled out all vertical up and down motion. They are circular because the same collisions battered any rogue, oval-shaped orbits into smooth, parallel circles, aided by the gravitational herding of shepherd moons. And they remain as rings, rather than clumping into a moon, because they are trapped inside the Roche Limit, where Saturn's tidal forces constantly tear them apart. Saturn's rings look permanent. They look like a fixture of the universe. But they aren't. Astrophysicists have recently discovered that the rings are raining down onto Saturn. The planet's magnetic field is slowly pulling the ice particles into its atmosphere. In about 100 to 300 million years, a blink of an eye in cosmic time, the rings will be entirely gone. We happen to exist in the exact, narrow window of time in the history of the universe to look up and see this masterpiece before it vanishes forever. Physics made them thin, physics made them round, and eventually, physics will take them away. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.